Alrighty, there we go. Welcome. Continuing our Maimar Hasidic discourse. Today we're going to learn the Kabbalah of rape. Before that, the month of Elul is a Anila Doidiyam to my beloved. It's the effort from us, even though we're showered with the pleasant countenance, a fine countenance of the king, and a wide smile from the king. The king is in the field, accessible. God is accessible to us. Just have to want to greet him. And what God is giving us the capability, shining upon us the 13 divine attributes of compassion, is that we could reveal the real me. What do I really want? What's the deepest thing a person really wants is connection to the divine. And the desire for that is not for the benefit. It's because in the inner truth of who we are is divine. So we want to connect to that inner truth of us, which therefore connects us to that of godliness. Yes, the animal soul wants pleasure and comfort as an end in itself. Well, not even. Makes it feel good, right? Comfort makes you feel good. But that's the animal soul. The divine in us is divine. So it wants that divine connection. That's the true inner desire. That can't be forced on us. We can be inspired by it. And that's what the Maimer is doing here, inspiring us. Right? Hopefully, we just don't learn this, but we incorporate this. Hi. So then the Alter Rebbe says more. By accomplishing this, we affect all of creation, even the king. You can let in. Thank you. And what does that mean? We affect the divine? How do we affect the divine? Well, in the metaphor, the king comes to the field. The king has to get nourishment from the field. He gets nourished. He gets life from the field. He eats grain. Yeah. We all get nourishment. Here, I'm going to make a brief blessing on grain, on something that my wife made. It was amazing. Full of dates.
Amen.
Living the example. All right. That was it. L'chaim. What's the point? That grain nourishes us. It comes from the field. The king goes to the field. He's nourished by the field. Gets life from the field. What's that mean? The king is God, or godliness, the divine attributes of God, 13 divine attributes of God that it represents the king. Right? What's that? How's that compassionate? The king? He's coming to the field to make himself accessible. That's pretty compassionate of a king. Be there for the people. That's amazing. Excuse me one sec. That's pretty awesome. Think about it. It's quite awesome. And yet, he's nourished by it. So God's nourished. Godliness is nourished. The heavens above, the divine, by me wanting to come and greet the king, connect to God, have that relationship. And as an expression of that's what I really want. Right. But that means, so since the world was created, Shvil Yisrael, for us, that and all of creation, meaning even the spiritual levels of the divine, right? The spiritual levels of the divine are there only ultimately for us. Actually, specifically the Jewish people, but as a result from there, through the Jewish people, and that's why it's important, the support that there is for the Jewish people and for the land of Israel. But that's by others as an appreciation of this notion. But anyways, the message is for everybody to appreciate. And specifically, who's the king coming out for? Like those who are close to him, he doesn't have to come out. It's those that are distant. So in other words, the 13 divine attributes of God, godliness, right, which is godliness, the of the divine, is coming for those who are distant from God, to bring them back home, to help them do tshuva. And what's the tshuva? Recognize that what you really want is the connection. What you really want. Now, okay, and that was kind of, so we learned that already. Now, in brackets, the Rebbe brings from the Tzemach Tzedek, the third Rebbe, the grandson of the Alter Rebbe, right? And he brings the following about the Kabbalah of rape. First of all, simple meaning of rape in the Torah is in last week's Torah portion. The man rapes a woman in the field, right? And the reason why in the field, it's just giving that there's no one there to save her. She cries out, no one's there to save her. So it doesn't mean, it means anywhere. Like, rape was in the big city, it's the same thing. If just giving it as a more, I don't know if it's a more likely scenario, if you will, on the simple level, as Rashi explains, a more likely scenario. But of course, everything is very exacting in the Torah, and ultimately, it's a metaphor. someone is raped. What does that mean? You're violated, right? Your personhood is violated. Well, who's that of the person? The physicality of the person? I mean, it affects the physicality, but ultimately it's the soul. So on a deeper level, on a mystical, Kabbalistic level, the Torah speaking is about the soul, right? And so what does that mean? That the soul, which is this maiden in the field, right? Referring the maiden is, and neshama is feminine. And here we're talking about the feminine, right? Is in the field, well, in a bad place, right? And that's where she got caught, meaning the soul is in a bad place of le'umazeh, of the negativity of the world, right? Remember, again, this is a metaphor. The soul is found in a bad space. It's distant from the divine. And even more than that, right? So that's the first thing is, right? The woman is in the field. That's where she was caught, right? Again, that's where she was raped. She was there. Like, he didn't bring her there. She was there, right? Just again, for the sake of the metaphor, to appreciate. The soul was there in the field. Now, metaphorically, there's a field where the king is, and that's a good place because the king is there. But in this metaphor, again, it's a metaphor. It's a negative place. The field is a negative place in this instance. And that's where she is. That's where the soul is. It finds itself in a negative place in its life, in its journey at this moment, right? Make bad thoughts, unhealth, saying lashon hara, right? That's where the soul is. It's just not in a good space. Furthermore, though, comes a man and forces her and lies with her, right? In other words, she's in a bad space, but then the circumstances around her, the world that she engages in, brings her down further, right? Her, we're talking about now the soul, right? I'm sorry. Just make sure, right? In the metaphor, make sure we got this good, right? Then the circumstances around her, right? Meaning the guy who coerces her and lies with her, right? Meaning the circumstances around the soul now brings you down even further. So that's the metaphor, right? The deeper Kabbalistic idea over here. So here it's important to follow further. Now, when this happens to the woman, is she happy? No. She doesn't want this, right? What happens to the soul at this moment? It doesn't want this. The soul, it really wants connection. It wants the divine. After all, that's what it is. That's what it is. So it wants that. So what happens? The soul, as it says in the verse in the Torah, right, about the maiden, she cries out. Well, here the soul's crying out with a bitterness on that which would happen now. A bitterness what happened. That's what it says. And the verse continues says, Be'ein maishi Allah, and there's no salvation for her. Another meaning, on a simple level, it means there's no one around her to save her from this guy. Right? That's on the simple simple meaning of the text. The Kabbalistic meaning of the text, remember, we're saying that her is the soul, which is the feminine, right? The feminine soul. Neshama is feminine. There's has no salvation. Well, the word ayin in Hebrew, ein Mashiach, sorry. The word ein Mashiach means, on a simple level, means there's no one there to help her from this situation, right? On the mystical level, the word ein, which means no one there to help her, means ayin is helping the soul. Ayin means the nothingness is helping the soul. What does it mean that? As the world is created, something from nothing, that divine level of no thing that's beyond the order of creation is there to save the soul, to help the soul. Why? Because that's where the soul comes from. The soul is not a part of creation. The soul is beyond creation. Which, by the way, I'm saying this, take it as you want. You might not like it. And the simple level, that's something that we can learn from this idea that rape, of course, is a horrific thing and obviously very traumatic, right? But could you be helped from it? Or do you have to live with the trauma? So here, on the mystical level, it's saying that there is help beyond creation. The source of your soul that comes from beyond creation. In other words, if you know that your soul is a part of the divine, so even though you went through this traumatic experience, heaven forfend, of course, no woman should go through this, but or any trauma. Forget about rape, because rape means, a very deep violation. But what's the violation of your soul? So any violation of your soul, right? Whatever it is, that's traumatic, whatever it is in life. Again, rape is the, so to speak, nth degree. So on the simple level, there's no one there to help her, right? And that's why she's getting coerced and being raped. But on the mystical level, there is help, not by connecting to the divine in you. What does that mean? The divine in you is whole, complete, and worthy, not because you did something, or even if something bad you did or was done to you, right? You're still whole, complete, and worthy. There's no shame. There's no guilt, right? Because you're whole, complete, and worthy. Why? Because ayin Mashiach, because the no thing in you, where you come from, your soul that is rooted in the divine, that's your salvation. So when a person goes through this in their life of anything that's a violation, the nth degree of in rape, but anything that is a trauma, there is a salvation. There is help when you connect with the divine soul that you have within you. That's what's going to help you, as opposed to focusing on the pain, the trauma, the feeling of shame, lowness, whatever it might be. That's extremely powerful idea. So, wow, I hope that was clear. Yeah, was that clear, everybody?
Yes, very.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Um, so that was all parenthetical in the mimer, by the way. Just to bring out the idea of that the soul in any situation has a help. Now, since the revelation of the inner will of the Jew is because we're rooted in the core essence of the divine, and that's right, that's the point over here, right? And therefore, through the tshuva that we do, that first we were in a negative place in the field, negative field, or even worse, in the desert where nothing grows, right? Therefore, we're able to actually affect the divine attributes that is the king in the field, the metaphor. We are actually able to make when they are drawn down to it, right? That divinity is drawn down um, in order to awaken me, to empower me, to strengthen me, to 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 find my true inner connection, right? But why is the king specifically in the field? For those who are distant, like the soul that's in the field, and right? The Kabbalah of Raven just said the king specifically came there for those that are distant to give them the opportunity to come close. All we have to do is really know that not just want it. It's more than wanting. You know, I want some coffee. Do I really want coffee? Is that like what I really want? No, no, not at all. What I really want is to be me. And who's me? Who are you? The divine in you. That's just right. Like I say to like the Chassid Mendel Futterfass said, "Me Jew, you Jew." Right? Who are you? Right? When you say Jew, that means the divine. Doesn't mean your historical background. It doesn't mean your I mean it means that too, obviously. Those are the things that what it means is the divine in me. And every human being can have a lesson from this, right? Even though it's speaking to the Jew in you, right? Israel, right? Yud, Sar, Kale, as we explained previously. But it's a lesson for everyone. Folks, I don't think life could be the same after learning this stuff. My gosh, unreal, unreal. Thank you for being here because you helped me. Like just being here helps me to process this. So I thank you. And I hope